We apologize for starting a bit late, but then we say hello and welcome to New Central Television. I am Lekon Obanjo, the top stories at this hour. Protests mark June 12 Democracy Day commemoration amid economic challenges. President Bola Tinubu grants posthumous pardon to Ken Saro-Wiwa, 8 others. One survives as Air India Boeing 7878 Dreamliner carrying 242 people crashes minutes after takeoff. Details to come your way shortly. We begin the news from Abuja, where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has addressed a joint session of the National Assembly as part of this year's Democracy Day celebration. President Tinubu told the 496 Assembly members his administration's economic reforms are already yielding results. On national unity and mass defection to the ruling APC from the PDP, the president says the country isn't heading down the path of a one-party state. President Tinubu made and paid tributes to Nigeria's founding fathers, including MKO Abiola, Kudirat Abiola, Shehu Aradoa, and the Ogoni 9, who were posthumously granted national honors and pardons.
At the present, and at no future junction shall I view the notion of one-party state as good for Nigeria. I've never attempted to alter any political party registration with INEC. We cannot blame anybody seeking to bail out of a sinking ship, even without a life jacket. We are already seeing results. The GDP grew by 3.4% in 2024, with Q4 hitting 4.6%, the highest quarter growth in over a decade. Inflation is easing gradually, steadying the price of food staples like rice and beans.
For more on this President's address, I'm joined by our National Assembly correspondent, Sagir Ibrahim, who now joins me from Abuja. Sagir, good evening to you. Let's have a quick rundown on the President's address today.
Good evening, Lekon. If you can hear me, thank you so much for having me on the news tonight. So the President was here at the National Assembly to address the joint session of both the chambers of the National Assembly. I would break down what he basically addressed the legislators on into 3 points, basically. First of which is, of course, letting Nigerians and, of course, members of the National Assembly know that the economy is on the way to recovery. He spoke, so confidently about how much progress the nation has made in terms of improvement of GDP, the improvement of Nigeria's forex window, which has, of course, seen the stabilization, of the forex dollar exchange rate, as the case may be. And then he took time, of course, to address concerns, particularly to one party. He took his time to expose those political adversaries that they should calm their nerves. There's no need to worry, as he has no intention whether towards a one-party state and as it is with a multi-party system is in fact the reason why the likes of individuals like himself has been able to make it up to the position of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And then finally, of course, the President took time to identify and also to recognize individuals who he described as heroes who paid the supreme price when necessary to ensure that Nigeria continues to enjoy the nascent democracy, of course, that continues to live since the year 1993, as you may call it, 32 years or 29 years ago, as the case may be.
So how do you think that the lawmakers are actually feeling about the economic reforms that the president spoke about? Because some Nigerians are saying that they seem not to be feeling the pang of those reforms as they are.
Well, Nigerians have raised these concerns continuously that the impact of the policies of the current administration has not trickled down in ways that they would want it to ordinarily do so. But then again, members of the National Assembly are, of course, speaking through the leaders of both chambers, talk about the Senate President and, of course, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, express confidence in the leadership of the President championing the nation towards economic recovery. So while Nigerians, on the one hand, may have expressed, concern about not feeling the impact, the National Assembly seems to be comfortable with the trajectory at which the nation's economy is taking. So it's what one would describe, as divided opinion between the leaders and the citizens, as the case may be. But then, of course, you need to realize that even in the National Assembly, opposition politics, or politics as it is, also plays. So while we see the likes of opposition party members, arguing that maybe the president may not have been accurate in saying that the economy is on the full path to recovery, we see the likes of those, of course, in the ruling party agree 100% with some of the things that the president, mentioned earlier during his address to the Joint Assembly.
Okay, so before I let you go, I'd love to also find out about the posthumous honors granted to the Ogoni 9. How those who are actually concerned about this would be feeling, knowing fully well that it was something that was not given prior to now.
Well, Lekon, it's not just about the Ogoni 9. I mean, somewhere within the list of individuals who have been granted this national honor is also Professor Humphrey Nwosu, who many have called a champion of the 1993 democracy, as the case may be, being, of course, the man who led the Independent National Electoral Commission, or the National Electoral Commission, as the case may be at the time, which organized the election and prosecuted the election that saw, the emergence of MK Abiola and Babagana Kingibe as winners of that election. So for lawmakers who are from the Southeast extraction, they are grateful to the president for finally recognizing the efforts that the likes of Professor Humphrey Nwosu, paid to ensure that Nigeria's freest and fairest election became a reality. Now back to the Ogoni 9, of course, lawmakers from the South extraction are, of course, also grateful for this. Not only did the president grant them this national honors, he also granted the prerogative of mercy, pardoning them, of course, for whatever crimes or sins against the land that they may have committed. Details of this, of course, the president mentioned, will be made public subsequently.
Thank you so much, Sagir Ibrahim, for talking to us at this time. But I'm now joined by Professor Kenneth Nweke, who is a professor of politics and governance, and he also joins me to look at his perspective as regards to Democracy Day today. You're welcome, Professor Nweke. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, and good evening.
So how would you assess President Tinubu's June 12 Democracy Day speech in terms of its message, tone, and potential impact on Nigerians?
Well, for me, one thing that strikes me most is the issue of one-party state. Of course, I have always said clearly that there's not going to be one-party state, even if, yes, on paper, in terms of the ground norm, it provides and other extant laws of the country, that including the Act of National Assembly. There's no way we'll have a one-party state in Nigeria. So what appears to be a one-party state is because people are hungry, and then they tend to drift towards where they can get something, either because they are afraid, of being in the opposition. And so they don't want to be out of the corridors of power, because they believe that the APC is the only way to go. But unfortunately, how many are those that would actually come out on the day of election to vote? And so when you think about Nigerians in their numbers, even those that are undecided, and so it's more than enough. And so I don't also think that, so the president tried to address that issue, probably to allay the fears of people in certain quarters. But I know that That is on the surface, as far as I'm concerned. If you were also in his shoes, you open the doors for as many people who want to cross over. And so if in also addressing that issue of a one-party state, I don't think he's been, what do I call, how do I describe it? He's been sincere in saying that Nigeria is not going to drift. Of course, what do you expect him to do? That's what exactly has said, and his politics. So his doors are open. The doors of his political party, are open to receive as many as he can't shut. They can't shut their doors. That's the truth. And so, but as to whether what he was saying, he was being sincere. For me, he was only playing to the gallery. I mean, playing politics and all that. So I don't take whatever he has said regarding the one-party state, because it is not his making, neither the making of APC, that people are drifting into APC. It is the nature of Nigerians, and so nobody should blame him for that. So going into that, I don't think it was necessary. Then the honors that bestowed on fallen heroes down in River State, the Ogoni 9. Well, for me, is medicine after death. Of course, that's probably what some of the prominent sons of Ogoni have been asking, to immortalize the names of these fallen heroes, forgive them, give them national forgiveness or something like that, pardon them, and probably, I don't know how that will return those eminent sons of Ogoni land. Maybe immortalize, probably if you immortalize their names, so to say, with certain national assets, especially few prominent ones among them, or the 9 different areas across the country, it will even sound better than talking about you are pardoning somebody who is late. And so what does that one mean? But probably that's what some of the prominent sons of Ogoni land have been asking for. But for me, Ken Weke, it does not add, it does not subtract.
Okay.
So they are gone and they are gone. And so if you want to immortalize their names, you can immortalize, with naming them after certain national artists and all that. And so forgiveness or national pardon and all of those things, for me, is playing politics and playing to the gallery.
All right, so the president also made mention of his reforms. Would you say that those reforms have made things better or worse for the country?
I've always said clearly, removal of fuel subsidy. It was one of the best that we had from him, though the approach was what wasn't the matter for us today. It was to face headlong, the monster called fuel subsidy was eating so deep into the coffers of Nigeria and affecting our economy so badly over the years. And no government was able to face the reality of removing fuel subsidy. So, but it was the manner and the approach and the timing that brought us to where we are today. So for me, it's one of the policies of this government that I must commend them for, commend Mr. President for taking the bold steps in removing fuel subsidy. But unfortunately, one would have thought that removing fuel subsidy, that the money saved that we were using to subsidize, that would have made a lot of impact in the lives of our people in terms of turning around the lives of our people but that's not what we are seeing. Rather, we are seeing ourselves borrowing more money. And so one would ask, if that fuel subsidy was going on, then would have been in complete, famine, where it may also result in people in a family having so much children, they resort to, using some of them as protein, like the state of nature. So, unfortunately, after removing the fuel subsidy, yet the economy is still biting and biting. So, if it had not been removed, then where would we have been? So, it's one of the policies that I must commend the government. Like I said, it was only the approach, the timing that was wrong. But otherwise, one good policy. But unfortunately, like I also said, we are not seeing the effect in terms of positivity in the lives of our people. If you saved money that you are using to pay for fuel subsidy, and that it was the subsidy regime was said to have been in a corrupt manner.
Okay.
It was like it was traded in a lot of secrecy and all of those. So where are we seeing the effect of that? The removal. We are not seeing that. It should translate into improvement in the quality of lives of our people, but unfortunately, that is not the case with us here. So talking about other policies of the government, if any policy does not translate into improvement in the quality of our lives, into improvement in infrastructure, then that policy for me is dead on arrival.
Professor Weke, permit me to cut in here. We may need to go on a very short break now. When we return, we'll now look at the kind of policies you would be expecting to see that can actually be people-centric and drive growth for the country. So please stay with us. We'll come back to you in a bit. Before going on the break, we told you that even as Nigeria celebrates Democracy Day today, the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu delivered a speech at the National Assembly eulogizing the sacrifices of our heroes past. And of course, he used the opportunity to praise his reform, saying that though the challenges are there, but then the benefits are trickling in. And I've been talking to a professor of politics and governance, Professor Kenneth Nweke, to actually evaluate the president's speech and to find a way forward in terms of what needs to be done to ensure that democracy thrives in the country and Nigerians benefit. Also, we have Imebe Xavier Oscar, who will also be entertaining during the course of the news as regards the posthumous benefits, so to speak, honors granted to the Ogoni 9. So let me quickly talk to Professor Nweke first, I believe, before I continue with the other gentleman. So Kenneth Nweke, you were actually talking about the fact that you support the president's policy, but then you have issues with the timeliness and the implementation. So let us understand what kind of policies should be driven now that we are at this part of the Tinubu administration that can actually speak to the pains of Nigeria, further entrench democracy and its values, and bring about economic growth for the country?
Yeah, thank you. For me, when you drive, of course, one of those policies would have been the removal of deliberate one, removal of fuel subsidy. Of course, one, like I said, one would have expected that the monies, saved from that would have been used in addressing some of the major challenges that we have in the country, such as infrastructure deficit and all of those, including human capital development and all of those. And of course, when you have a country that is not tailored towards building the infrastructure that we have. Of course, one of those infrastructure things that this current government is doing as a matter of deliberate policy is the coastal routes, from Lagos to Calabar and all of those. Yes, but it's going to take a while for that kind of project to begin to have impact. But one would have expected that even before that road, you talk about the east-west road from Calabar, you can approach Akwa Ibom State, as we speak right now. And so from Uyo, to River State, and then part of River State is still, you can't pass the place and all that. So one would have expected, even before the coastal route, that the east-west road would have been addressed completely, even between Bayelsa and Benin and all of those, including Benin to Lagos, would have been something else. Then before you now begin to talk about the coastal routes. So those are part of probably some deliberate policies in terms of infrastructure.
Okay.
And again, we talk about maintaining roads, connectivity across the 6 geopolitical zones. Give us good roads, profitable routes and all that. That can aid in transportation of goods and services. And then in terms of, because people are not seeing this money, you have budgets, of even 2024. You'll be surprised that in some ministries, those, the spend, or in fact, the allocation for those ministries have not been received. And so if you don't release these funds and all that, and then you release certain funds to certain people, to National Assembly, some other areas of your own interest.
Yeah, Professor
so
Wike.
Will that transform the economy? It will not, definitely.
All right.
So
well,
if we must see a transformed economy, then the government must be sincere in allocation of resources to all sectors.
Of course, you actually also ensure inclusiveness too with these disbursements and allocations. Thank you so much, Professor Kenneth Nweke, for talking to us. But then stay with us for a while. I want to quickly engage Imeabi Oscar, who is the Publicity Secretary of the Movement for the Survival of the Ogoni People. Mr. Oscar, I'd like to get your own view or how you feel about these posthumous honors granted to the Ogoni 9.
Thank you very much, and good evening once again to Nigerians. And it's good to be with you at this point in time. In as much as we want to sincerely appreciate the President for giving attention or giving concern to the issues that concern Ogoni, we still want to make it clear that at this point in time, pardon is not what the people of Ogoni demand or actually ask for. It is actually enshrined the Ogoni Bill of Rights. That Wiwa or Tinubu, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, cannot claim ignorance that he is not aware about the struggle of the Ogoni people, especially at that level of Kensa Owiwa. It's obvious that Kensa Owiwa fought a just cause. It's also obvious that the Ogoni struggle is an international struggle. This is not something that should be seen as a local fight. It was an international fight. Kensa Owiwa then and his other colleagues that gave their life for the struggle of the Ogoni people did that out of their passion for the love of the people. Did that because the oppressed minority groups were actually not in the need or not in the center for government. And for the oppressed, also looking at the situation concerning the Ogoni people, it is unfortunate that at this point in time, Mr. President ought to know what the Ogoni people need. What happened to total exoneration? What the Ogoni people want at this point is exoneration of Kensa Owiwa. Granting him pardon means that Kensa Owiwa actually contributed or participated in a crime. What crime did Kensa Owiwa actually commit that led to his pardon? I don't think pardon is what the people want. What we want as Ogoni people, what we want as a people is the exoneration of Kensa Owiwa and others. That's what we want, not a pardon. So I want to sincerely tell Mr. President or call or appeal to Mr. President that he should revisit that particular position or his stand on pardon, because we are not appreciating that word pardon. Rather, we call for exoneration, and that's actually what the people of Ogoni have been calling for. Kensa Owiwa was innocently killed. Kensa Owiwa and others were innocently killed, and as we speak, even the Ogonis that Kensa Owiwa died for, we are still always, up to this point, we are still aggrieved. We are still mourning the death of Kensa Owiwa. And we don't expect the president that is actually interested in the Ogoni oil. Mr. President should not claim that he loves the people of Ogoni. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, does not have any love and do not love the people of Ogoni. So he should not claim or act or try to deceive us with his kangaroo mode of pardon. If Tinubu wants the oil that belongs to the people, you cannot give us a knife. You cannot ask us to give us machete and you give us knife. You are demanding for our machete, and in return, you are giving us a knife in return. That's not acceptable, or that's unacceptable. As we speak at this point in time, the oil level, the oil that belongs to the people of Ogoni, which the federal government of Nigeria, led by Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is interested in, should be something that the people of Ogoni should benefit from their struggle. As we speak, we are aware of, the president is aware that the people of Ogoni have actually suffered so much, and they need a serious attention at this point in time, and not to give us a knife and then demand for our machete. We know, everybody, the entire community, the entire Ogoni know that Mr. President is just interested in the oil of the Ogoni people. Mr. President wants to, by any means or by every possible means, by force or by crook, by any Nicodemus way, want to tap the oil that belongs to the people. If you want the Ogoni oil, then the people have always
All right, Mr. Oscar, I think we just lost audio with you for a while there. But then I'd like to just quickly take a Professor Nweke on this. Before now, we've seen several efforts to actually appease or give some sort of recognition to the Ogoni people. Would it mean that past efforts have not really been optimal or adequate to actually see to placating the issues that have plagued the Ogoni people up until now?
Absolutely no. No. I mean, successive governments have not been able to address the Ogoni plight. Not just about Ogoni plight. When you talk about, Kem Sarowiwa, and co fought for the degraded environment of the Niger Delta as a whole, even if he was using the some Ogoni platform, to fight that cause. But that cause was a cause that affected the entire Niger Delta, where oil and gas activities are in operation or have been in operation over the years. And so, probably because of his international contacts and his level of education, he was able to take the Ogoni struggle to where, to the international arena, and so made it so popular. Otherwise, what Ogoni people are suffering is not different from what Iche people are suffering, where I come from, where we have over 350 oil and gas wells in Igbo Eche, throughout Umegulu, Ikwerembo, Igbo Eche. You don't have roots from there. And so how can you talk about, such a small community? In the whole of Eche, you have Odagwa area, no routes to access there. It's a field. You have Umechem area. And so the Ogoni struggle is not different from the struggle of other parts of the Niger Delta, particularly. No. And so when you want to talk about whether this has been assuaged by past government, I said no, that has not been done. So pardoning the Ogoni 9, for me, it is a mere cosmetic approach to solving the problem. So what the people need, including the Ogoni people, is development. The oil should not be developed should not be used to develop only Abuja, where I am presently now, or in Lagos State, or in other states, but should be used first to develop the people themselves, including the Ogoni people. So the issue of pardoning Ken Sarowiwa and all that is a cosmetic approach that leads to nothing, as far as I'm concerned.
All right, Professor Nweke. Thank you so much, Professor Nweke, Professor of Politics and Governance, and of course, Amiable Oscar, who is the Publicity Secretary of the Movement of the Survival of Ogoni People, for sharing your thoughts with us on the news. That's how much we can actually take anyway, but then we appreciate your contributions. Let's quickly go on our short break. When we return, Atiku says Nigeria's democracy in its lowest point in history. We'll tell you more in our short while. Do join us again. But I'll tell you that the former Vice President, Atiku Abubakar, says Nigeria's democracy is at the lowest point in history under President Bola Tinubu. In his Democracy Day speech, Atiku adds that Nigerians are being dominated rather than governed. The 2023 presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party notes that the achievements of June 12 is the result of a struggle against authoritarianism, but that the democratic progress, which began in 1999, when the military gave up power, is gradually being eroded. Similarly, former Anambra State Governor and Labour Party leader Peter Obi has launched a sharp critique of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration, accusing it of endorsing failure and manipulating public narratives instead of addressing Nigeria's worsening socio-economic issues. Speaking at a press briefing in Abuja on Thursday, Obi condemned the government for lacking accountability and measurable progress, claiming it thrives on propaganda and blame shifting.
As we mark June 12, a day symbolizing the struggle for true democracy in Nigeria, it is deeply troubling that under the present administration, in a short span of 2 years, our nation has witnessed a broad erosion of democratic principles. There has been a corresponding decline in security and the quality of life for millions of Nigerians. We have traversed from rigged elections to collapsing social service, from soaring poverty to rising corruption, and from seemingly stable economy to palace economy. It is most troubling that in 2 years in office, the present government has brought our nation to the point where our leaders now celebrate and endorse failure, lies, and propaganda. The government today, rather than show genuine accountability and measurable progress, focuses on manipulating the narratives, gaslighting the public, shifting blame, and weaponizing governance.
We're still talking June 12, the day and its anniversary has always been marked with pro-democracy demonstrations. This year, the demonstrations in Lagos saw two factions turn up at the Ikeja Underbridge protest location, and our correspondent, Omolola Ololade, was on ground to witness things and has the details.
The June 12 Democracy Day protest in Lagos saw two factions of protesters turn out in their large numbers, singing and chanting solidarity and celebratory songs to mark the day. While the protest started with members of the End Bad Governance movement who converged at Ikeja Underbridge area of the state, protesting against anti-people policies by the present administration. The Team Nigeria for Change movement also gathered almost immediately at the same venue to celebrate over 20 years of uninterrupted democracy in Nigeria.
If the government actually means well, that government does not need 100 years before we are going to begin to see that the government is well. President Tinubu, from the first day, he had not yet even left it this square. He declared war on the Nigerian people. That the moving first of it. He did not even get to Asoro. A government that starts with that, such a government cannot finish well. We are also demanding that President Tinubu to stop all anti-poor policies that are making life hard for you. These are some of our demands.
The mood soon changed as protesters reconvened at Ojota area of the state, where the two factions almost clashed over protest grounds. One of the organizers of Team Nigeria for Change mentioned that their presence is not to counter the anti-government protests, but to ensure peace among the two factions.
This celebration is June 12. Like we said earlier, nobody is saying the country is perfect. Nobody is saying we're where we're supposed to be, but there is reason for celebration. We are making progress as a country. While we are celebrating, some people also have their own right to say they are not celebrating, and they want to protest. We are called onto celebration.
However, there was heavy security presence throughout the protest to ensure safety of everyone, while ensuring other activities around the state isn't disrupted.
We are going to proceed with them from here to extend them and ensure that everything is safe to get the California Minerals because that is where we agree. Because if you look at where we are, there are a lot of commercial activities and private individuals and other well-meaning Nigerians that will need access to their facility. And there are quite a lot of people that are actually moving on the road to celebrate. So where your right stop is where another person's right begin.
While Ikeja and Ojota witnessed heavy traffic earlier in the day due to the protest, there was relative calm in other parts of the state. In Lagos for News Central, Omolola Ololade.
Away from Democracy Day stories, we now tell you that Justice for Victory Tissa is one of News Central's special investigative pieces that follows the alleged defilement of a 12-year-old and her experience with the Niger police. In this report, our special correspondent on investigative journalism, Marshal Anthony Ononye, investigates claims of police high-handedness, unlawful incarceration, and abuse of power by both the police and the judiciary. Here's his report.
Victory Tissa and her mother, Juliet Adi, are battling with what they have come to describe as police high-handedness in the investigation of the defilement of Victory twice by one man.
She was raped in my mother's place. They used to call him Brother Blessing. On that fateful day, he sent her an errand. After she coming back to deliver the thing he asked her to go and buy, he now raped my daughter. I now reported this matter at Abuja police station. He started begging. He started kneeling down. He held my leg. He was holding a cloth. He was begging the both of us. And the DPO was recording it. When the boy was talking, when the boy was begging us, the DPO was recording everything. The IPO, she now called me that I should just take 200,000 and let the matter die. I said 200,000 to let the matter die. I now come to meet the DPO. I said, take the matter to court. He said, I will not tell him what to do. It is him that is going to do what he's going to do.
According to Juliet Adi, the DPO at the time, Peter Obi, promised to do all within his powers to see that she regrets questioning his authority.
In the night, I was just coming out from the bedroom. I heard more. We now see that it was this boy, him, his girlfriend, and his friend with a policeman with armed. He said, I'm under arrest. I said, under arrest for what? He said that we beat this boy. I said, where you take see me? I'm not coming back from the shop. How? Getting there. The DPO said they should just lock us up without asking any question, no nothing.
The policemen came to arrest us. They didn't ask questions. They just saw me and took me. They didn't ask, are you the one? No investigation, no nothing. So when they came, my brother was not around. They took us to the station. They said, if you can provide my younger brother, they release me. I spent 5 days. My brother came in. I spent another 7 days in Kirikiri. After spending 5 days in the cell, I spent 7 days in Kirikiri.
That day, they took us to Kirikiri. We spent another 6 days in Kirikiri with beating, with torture.
Barrister Olumide Omoshebi is a rights advocate. For him, this is a complete perversion of justice.
Gross miscarriage of justice, and this is an indictment on both judiciary and the police. I think the proper thing would be to let this come out to light and let everybody, let their conscience, let the law, let humanity, from all angles, from morality to humanity to law, on all counts, this is gross miscarriage and an abuse of power by both the police and by that particular magistrate.
Victory, her mother, and the entire family continue to cry out as they hope to find justice someday. For News Central, Marshal Anthony Ononye.
Well, outside of Africa, we tell you that an Indian police chief has confirmed that a man survived the air crash that killed at least 200 people. Ahmedabad Police Commissioner J.S. Malik said that the survivor, who is a British national, Vishwas Kumar Ramesh, was on seat 11A on the London-bound Boeing 7878 flight. Indian media said they had spoken to Ramesh in hospital, who said the crash happened so fast, just about 30 seconds after takeoff. India's Civil Aviation Authority said there were 242 people aboard, including 2 pilots and 10 cabin crew. In sports, Nigeria's Super Falcons retained 36th place in the latest FIFA Women's World Ranking, remaining the highest-ranked African team. The rankings, published on Thursday on FIFA's official website, showed no movement for the Nigerian team. Globally, the United States maintained the top spot, but Spain and Germany, ranked second and third, have closed the gap. Both European teams remain unbeaten since the last update. Meanwhile, the U.S. suffered a 2-1 home defeat to Brazil, who climbed 4 spots to 4th. The defeat has increased pressure on the Americans, coached by Emma Hayes, as they lead at the summit narrows. The next FIFA Women's World Ranking will be released on August 7, 2025, and could reflect further shifts among the top teams. And that's all at this hour, but then we look at our top stories before we go. We told you that protests marked June 12 Democracy Day commemoration amid economic challenges. President Bola Tinubu grants posthumous pardon to Ken Saro-Wiwa, 8 others. We also told you that 1 person has survived as Air India Boeing 7878 Dreamliner carrying 242 people crashed minutes after takeoff. Well, you can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. You can also follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. Don't forget to watch us live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, StarTimes channel 274, Arvo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Likon Onabanjo.